Hello friends, welcome to 5-minute class. In data structure, we study arrays and linked list data structures. Both the data structure have its own importance and usefulness, but sometimes a very common question is asked in the semester examination or in interview or in some viva examination. That is, what is the difference between the array data structure and the linked list data structure? Okay, this question is also asked in some other words like what is the advantage of using array data structure over the linked list data structure, or what is the advantage of using linked list data structure over the array data structure. So the answer of all the three questions can be given after watching this video. So let us start our video and try to find out the difference between these two data structures. So first of all, we'll see the array data structure. What is the array data structure? Array data structure is a collection of the contiguous memory locations. Here all the elements are stored in homogeneous nature. In the linked list also the elements are in the homogeneous nature, but they are stored onto the nodes, and the nodes are not stored onto the contiguous memory locations. The nodes can be stored on the scattered memory locations. So the array stores the elements in the contiguous memory locations, which results in easily calculable address for the elements stored, and this allows faster access to an element at a specific index. Okay, while the linked lists are less rigid in storage structure, elements are not stored in the contiguous locations, so they need to be stored with additional information that is called as the address of the next element. Okay, we can analyze the difference between the two data structure by the different parameters. They are like size, memory allocation, memory efficiency, execution time, and dependency. So let us see the first parameter, size. So here in the array data structure, the size of the array is fixed. The size of the array is static, means the size of the array cannot be altered during the runtime. While the linked lists have got this advantage over the array data structure, that here we need not to have prior knowledge of the size of the data structure. Means here the data can be stored during the runtime, means whatever the amount of the data is to be stored, that can be stored during the runtime. Okay. Second point, memory allocation. Memory is allocated to the array data structure during the compile time, while for the linked list the memory is allocated during the runtime. So it is also called as the dynamic memory allocation. Okay. Memory efficiency. For the same number of elements, the linked list uses more memory space in compared to the array data structure. How? Because as we know that in the linked list data structure, the two type of information is required to be stored onto the node, that is the data as well as the address. So definitely it is going to take more memory space in compared to the array data structure. Okay. However, the size flexibility in the linked list may make them use less memory space. As we know that if we are having the prior knowledge of the data to be stored, then the array data structure is good. Suppose there may be some situation that we have just allocated 100 memory space, but actually we are storing only 20% of the memory space. So in that case, 80% of the memory space for the allocated for the array data structure will be useless, or it will be wasted. So that is what is the flexibility in case of the linked list. Okay. Next, execution time. Any element in the array can be directly accessed with the help of its index. Okay. While in linked list, all the previous elements must be traversed to reach the desired elements. Okay. We are talking about the execution time. In case of the array, we can randomly access any element of the array with the help of the index. Okay. But in case of the linked list, we have to start from the first element and we have to perform the whole traversing up to the desired element. Okay. Means we cannot randomly access any middle elements in case of the linked list. So definitely we can say that execution time in case of the array is lesser in compared to the linked list. Next, one more thing, that some operations like insertion and deletion are faster in case of the linked list, while they are slower in case of the array data structure. How? You can ask the question, how the insertion and deletion are faster? As we know that in case of the array data structure, if we want to insert an element at a given position, we have to shift all the elements downwards by one position. So this shifting of the elements makes the longer execution time. Okay. While in case of the linked list, if we want to insert a node, we can simply set the pointers. So it requires lesser execution time. Okay. Similarly, in the case of the deletion also, that whichever element is to be deleted, we have to simply set the pointer of the previous node to the next node. While for the array data structure, we have to shift all the elements upwards for deletion. Okay. Next, dependency. In an array, values are independent to each other, but in case of the linked list, nodes are dependent on each other. Okay. We can see here that one node is dependent on its previous nodes. Means this node is dependent on its previous nodes. So if the previous node is lost anyway, we will not be able to access any of the element of the linked list. Okay. So in case of the linked list, the elements are dependent highly on each other, while in case of the array data structure, the elements are not dependent on each other. Now, advantage of linked list. So linked list provides the two advantages over the arrays, that is dynamic size and the ease of insertion and deletion, as we have discussed. Now let us see the disadvantages of the linked list. The first one is random access. Random access is not allowed. We have to access elements sequentially from the starting elements. Okay. Means we have to access element from the first node. Second, extra memory space is required in case of the linked list, that is for storing the pointer which is required for each element of the list. Okay. Here arrays have better cache locality in compared to the linked list, as we know that arrays require the contiguous memory locations, so they offer a better cache locality, while in case of the linked list, the nodes are scattered, so it doesn't offer a better cache locality. We are talking about this cache memory. Okay, here a lot of time is required, or a lot of time is wasted during the traversing. Okay, here it will be confusing when working with the pointers. You know that the pointer is a very complex concept of any programming language, so the linked lists are implemented with the help of the pointers. So definitely it is going to be very confusing when we are implementing it. Now let us see the advantages of array data structure. The first one is multiple data. Array stores the multiple data of the similar types with the same name. Arrays also allows the random access to the element, so it is comparatively faster. As the arrays is of fixed size and stored in the contiguous memory locations, so there is no shortage of the memory. Okay, and few other advantages of using the arrays are like it is helpful to store any type of data with a fixed size. Okay, so these are the various advantages of the array data structure. Now disadvantages of the array. Now let us see the disadvantages of the arrays. Here the array data structure is static in nature, so once the size of the array is declared, then we cannot modify it. Insertion and deletion operations are difficult in case of the array data structure, as the elements are stored in the contiguous memory locations, and we are required to shift all the elements during the insertion and or the deletion operation, which are computationally intensive process, and the number of elements that have to be stored in array data structure, that should be known in advance. That is what is the biggest disadvantage of using the array data structure. So that's all about the difference between the array and linked list data structure. I hope that you would have got the answers for the various questions which we have started with. So if you liked this video, please subscribe it, please like and comment on the video. Thank you.